Let me cook.
Destin.
This is your time to shine, bro. Go ahead.
Me.
Okay.
Oh,
So
Isaiah.
Hi, I'm here too.
for today's episode, we're going to be looking at the topic of hell. And I think kind of the format for this episode that I envisioned is more of like a discussion, talking about the different words that the Bible uses for hell, and then also putting a focus on trying to see the differences between what we believe because of what we've heard as a culture and tradition and what the Bible really says it is. So that's pretty important, to hold fast to what the Bible says and not really expound too much on what it doesn't say, or putting such a high value on that. Like, it's good to talk about what you think it is, what it could be, but ultimately going back to what the Bible says is that's what it says. That's kind of my idea for this episode.
How did this idea come about for you? Because I know for me, when I come with a topic, there's usually maybe I was at church or I was listening to something and the idea kicked up in my head.
Well, usually late at night I'm thinking about heaven as I lie in bed, and then just one night I started thinking about hell.
Why? Do you have you thinking you want to send someone there, or you think you're gonna go there?
No, I don't really want anyone to go there, especially me, but I was just thinking about it.
Okay.
And I thought, well, what the heck is hell?
Where
is it?
What the heck is hell?
What is it like? Who's there? Are people there right now? Is it really fiery? Is it not fiery? Then it kind of my brain started to work in a different way. Like, well, where am I going to go when I die? What does life look like after death? And then I know I didn't really talk much about this when I messaged in the group chat about it, but then I started to think about, for the Christian, what is your eternal destination really look like? What is it? Where is it? Does the Bible tell us? That's what was spinning in my mind.
You know what I just thought about? I'm like, was this just a chance of you to say the word hell without your mom saying, you can't say that?
Should we put a disclaimer if people are sensitive to the H
Should
word?
we bleep every
The
time we say
HELL double hockey sticks.
Every time we say hell, we should be like bleep.
I can't wait for you to get home and your mom listen to this episode. She'll be like, Riley.
I cannot believe you said that.
Yeah, okay, so what did you come up with? What do you, like, when you thought about it, what is hell?
Well, from listening to different things and looking things up, I think what we get the word hell from in the Bible comes from two different words, which is Sheol, which is used in the Old Testament, and it's a Hebrew word, and then the word Hades, which is a Greek word that's used in the New Testament, and it's also referred to as like the grave or the place where you go in the afterlife.
Hades was also the Greek god of the underworld.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So there's things like that where obviously, like when the New Testament writers were writing the Bible, that was already known, right? Mm-hmm. That the Greek god of the underworld was Hades. So there's kind of tying in these different things from the culture
it's
that
like
they're
taking a reference point, something that they can. Oh, so that's what that is.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't really feel like I have so many answers, but it kind of brought up a lot of questions.
He was hoping you had all the answers, Feston.
Within me.
Wow.
He was trying to find himself.
I am honored for a genius to expect me to have all the answers, but I don't have all the answers. But I mean, I was looking it up and I was like, well, let's see, what is it? So if you go to Psalm 9:15, I think 17. It says the wicked shall be turned into hell, and all the nations that forget God. So it kind of gives you like like it's that mention of hell, but what is it? And I think from that you see the definition. Like you can tell like what hell is. It's the place that the wicked will go to, right? It's the like Riley, like both of you guys said, it's the like it's a place where dead like wicked people go, like wicked souls go. That's where they go to hell to be burned. In Psalm 55:15, kind of talks about the same way. It says 55:15 says, "Let death seize them, let them go down alive into hell, for wickedness is in their dwellings and among them." So I think Jesus taught about this, but like hell is like a real place, right, where the unrighteous go. And I think it was interesting that Riley brought it up, but it's some of the questions were, where do people go? Like in the Old Testament, where did the people go? Like what's the teaching on that? What's the word on that? And then now in the New Testament, what's the teaching on that? So we don't have all the answers. I don't think I have all the answers even looking through this, and I think we had like a week to prepare for this, but I'm like
I have something to add.
Yeah, after I was done, I was like, I don't think I know like 1% of this topic in detail. I could look into this and still feel like there's still a lot I can learn and find out. So that's what I was thinking. I'm like, well, if there's people that listen to this that like people, let us know what you guys think. Like, what is hell? Like, what are your thoughts on that? And then I'm just gonna read another verse, and then Isaiah, you can say what you want to say. But in Matthew 5:22, it says, "But I say to you that whoever is angry with his brother without a cause shall be in danger of judgment, and whoever says to his brother, Raka, shall be in danger of the council. But whoever says, you fool, shall be in danger of hellfire." So it kind of just gives you that idea of like, this is a real place, but it's not for everybody. It's for those that are wicked, for those that are unrighteous. So that's what I would say the definition of hell is. So it's there.
So I think it's interesting. In 2 Peter, it talks about Tartarus, and it talks about how that's where God sends all the fallen angels and the demons as he casts them into Tartarus. It's almost like Tartarus is its own separate thing aside from hell. Like us as humans, the humans that don't follow Christ get sent to hell, and then you have like this subsection of it, like Tartarus, which is where the fallen angels go to. I don't know. I just thought it was interesting.
Anything about fallen angels, so you two would know better
Well,
than I do.
In Greek mythology, Tartarus is where the gods like Zeus and Poseidon send the Titans. They chop them up in little pieces and put them in Tartarus.
So they just barbecue grill them.
To an extent, I guess, yeah. It's a nice way of putting it.
So why are they talking, or no, where did these words originate then? If it's talking about it in the Bible, in the New Testament, and then also it's in Greek mythology.
I would say it originates with the Greeks. I think it's just using words and ideas that like already known to them, like just to get the idea across. At least that's where my mind goes.
But it's a real place.
I think it's a real place, yeah.
So it's not like the places are a myth, but is it the stories around it that are mythology, or
possibly,
or is it like there is truth behind?
I think there's probably a certain amount of truth behind a lot of their stories.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously Zeus is not like the god above all gods.
Yeah.
But I think there's probably a little bit of truth in a lot of their stories.
Yeah.
Especially since they have a lot of parallels to like, Christianity with hell. Like they have a hell.
Mm-hmm. I looked up the first place where the word Sheol is used in the Bible, and it's in Genesis 37, chapter 35. And before that is the story of Joseph being betrayed by his brothers and sold as a slave to go to Egypt. And then they made up some story about how he had died and he was attacked by an animal and stuff. And they tricked their dad into believing that. And it says they showed him his son's tunic, his son's coat. So it says in 33, talking about Jacob, that, and he recognized it and said, "It is my son's. A wild beast has devoured him." Without doubt, Joseph is torn to pieces. Then Jacob tore his clothes, put sackcloth on his waist, and mourned for his son many days. And all his sons and his daughters arose to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. And he said, "For I shall go down into the grave," which is the word Sheol, "to my son in mourning." Thus his father wept for him. So it's not really like the word Sheol and hell are interchangeable in the Old Testament, which was kind of rocking a lot of things that I had thought before. And what it showed me is that it's a lot more complex than I think it is.
It's interesting. If you just like go and Google what is the definition of Sheol, it says Sheol is the Hebrew term for the subterranean shadow realm of the dead, described in the Old Testament as the common ultimate destination for all people regardless of their moral standing.
Yeah, so it wasn't just the wicked or those who didn't choose to follow God. Like Jacob, he wasn't perfect, but he is someone who followed God. So if your belief is Sheol is hell, then why would Jacob be saying, "I'm going to go down to hell where my son is"?
It's just saying like the afterlife.
Yeah, it's like in I'm going to find it. It's in Luke 16. I wanted to read this parable that I've been thinking about a lot.
Well, it's interesting, like in Greek mythology, Hades isn't necessarily hell. Hades is just where you go when you die, and there's like different levels of, if you were better or if you were worse, it just kind of goes to a different level of Hades. So in a way, I would say Sheol and Hades could be almost the same thing.
Yeah, it is. It's just the different Greek and Hebrew word. In Luke 16:19 through 31, it's called the rich man and Lazarus. It's Jesus teaching the people. There was a certain rich man who was clothed in purple and fine linen. It fared sumptuously every day. But there was a certain beggar named Lazarus, full of sores, who was laid at his gate, desiring to be fed with the crumbs which fell from the rich man's table. Moreover, the dogs came and licked his sores. So it was that the beggar died and was carried by the angels to Abraham's bosom. The rich man also died and was buried. And being in torments in Hades, he lifted up his eyes and saw Abraham afar off and Lazarus in his bosom. Then he cried and said, "Father Abraham, have mercy on me, and send Lazarus that he may dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue, for I am tormented in this flame." But Abraham said, "Son, remember that in your lifetime you received your good things, and likewise Lazarus evil things. But now he is comforted, and you are tormented. And besides all this, between us and you there is a great gulf fixed, so that those who want to pass from here to you cannot, nor can those from there pass to us." Then he said, "I beg you therefore, Father, that you would send him to my father's house, for I have 5 brothers, that he may testify to them, lest they also come to this place of torment." Abraham said to him, "They have Moses and the prophets, let them not hear them." And he said, "No, Father Abraham, but if one goes to them from the dead, they will repent." But he said to him, "If they do not hear Moses and the prophets, neither will they be persuaded, though one rise from the dead." So I think you see in this story a picture of what it's like in the afterlife. In if what Isaiah was saying, if that's true, that Hades is a dwelling place for all who have died, righteous, wicked, everyone. And it seems like where the righteous go is a place called Abraham's bosom, and it's like Abraham was there comforting Lazarus. And then where the unrighteous go is a place of torment in Hades. And between that is like a great gulf. I don't really know what that would look like, but there's an obvious separation between those two places that you can't just go back and forth from. But somehow there's communication, because the rich man was communicating to Abraham, and he was saying, just, have him dip his finger in the water that he can come over and I can get the cool water on the tip of my tongue. But really the main point that I see from this story, this parable, or this true story, whatever it is that Jesus teaches, is that it's not because of how rich you are or what you do that you'll have like a great afterlife. It's not because of that, but it's because of who you follow and who you worship. And then it's kind of sad at the end how the rich man was saying to Abraham, like, can you send someone back so that they can tell my brothers? And Abraham was saying, they have Moses and the prophets. Moses and the prophets, they told of God's love, of God's goodness, that God would also judge them, that God is holy, that God wants to have a covenant with them, that God has promised things to them, and that he's even going to give them a better promise. And it's sad that Abraham says they have all that, and even if someone goes back from the dead, they're still not going to believe. And you can kind of think about Jesus, and that Jesus, he was God's fulfillment of every one of those promises from Moses and the prophets. He came back from the dead, and still people that probably even saw him didn't believe that he was the Messiah. So I don't know. I don't really know exactly what to think about that. Like, what happened after Jesus died and rose from the dead? Like, is there still a place of Hades where everyone goes after they die, righteous and unrighteous?
Like the waiting room.
Yeah, like the waiting room for heaven and hell. Like, okay, like almost picture like an orthodontist office. Like, you have all the bad people there and all the good people there, a heaven door and a hell door. Is that
just chilling, waiting?
Yeah, and Abraham's there somehow, and you're in his bosom.
I don't think it's a literal translation.
Like you're curled up in the fetal position with your ear against
or is
his
it like
heart, listening.
Is it a giant version of Abraham and just a little door, like a little like cutout? You're just like
a Trojan horse,
kind of, yeah,
but a good one.
Giant Abraham,
and then open the door and it's heaven.
I don't know if we should take Abraham's bosom as a literal translation.
Is it like a giant gate and it's just Abraham, like
a little pocket in his shirt?
Yeah, this is my bosom.
But to answer your question, I would ask you, what did Jesus say to the thief on the cross?
Exactly.
Yeah.
He said, "Today I'll be with you in paradise."
So that answers your
I'll
question.
see you there.
But do you think that's the reason? Because do you think it was different before he came? Before he died on the cross, do you think people went to heaven the same way they do after he died on the cross?
Or like Jesus' death and resurrection changed something in that?
I think it did. I think from what I was reading, I think there's a change, of course, but I think in the old times there's like Hades, which is like, you guys ever like shows like that, the wedding place, right?
Yeah.
We cannot look at show as like the wedding place. But now Jesus said, hey, you'll be in paradise with me, which is the resting place, which is the place like with God, right? Like, so my opinion from what I've read and from what I've read in the Bible, like, and from what I've seen, I think there's a change, and that change is that there's now that, like, there's no judgment yet, but there's people, like the righteous people go to paradise.
Like, we don't have to go to the waiting room anymore.
So I think this is just my opinion, right? But like from what I've read in the Bible, people can let us know their different translations and what they think. But I think there's that shift where Jesus just gives us that access to like paradise. We don't have to be waiting somewhere. We're just in paradise. It's like the story Riley just shared is this guy goes to Abraham's bosom, which I believe is paradise. He's in a resting place, and now the person is right in hell. And he's saying, can you go warn my family so they don't end up here? I want them to end up where you are. So I don't think it'd be like, oh, I want my family to be in the wedding place that you're in. It's like, no, you have water, you have all these things. I want them to be there. So I think that's the change there. But like what we just read from Luke 16. I was on godquestions.org, I think it's .com, but I was talking about like what Jesus taught about hell, and they said that Jesus' teachings on hell are summarized in 5 words: reality, rebellion, regret, relentlessness, and reconciliation. Right? It is a real place for those who rebel against God. It is not a pleasant place. Rather, it's filled with regret, weeping, and gnashing of teeth. It is relentless because the fire and the suffering is just eternal. There's no like stopping, like we talk about. Like there's no end date, like, oh, this is gonna end here. It's just eternal. Like the way we're gonna be with God eternally. There's no like stopping spot.
It's like the inverse of that.
Yeah, and the good news in that is that God gives us a way to reconcile with Him, and gives us a way to get into heaven, to get into paradise with Him, instead of going to the other place where we don't want to go. Like I was looking at Matthew 18, verse 9, right? It says, 18 verse 9 says, and if your eyes cause you to sin, pluck it out and cast it from you. It is better for you to enter into life with one eye rather than having 2 eyes to be cast into hellfire. Right, so it's kind of gives you like, you get that sense of like, this is a real place where people will end up, and Jesus is saying, do whatever you can, like, right, like whatever you can to avoid this place. If it means losing your eye, if it means like being lame. I was laughing because I think in verse what verse was that? I think it was a different translation, but it talked about be lame if that's what it takes. Be lame if that's what it takes.
Be lame?
Yeah, like be lame. What translation was it? Like I think it was
The Message.
nope. It's in the same line. If you, I think it's, I don't know what my translation I was reading from my first. Like in verse 8 it says, if your hand or foot causes you to sin, cut it off and cast it from you. It is better for you to enter into life lame. This is New King James Version, right? It says in verse 8, it says, if your hand or foot causes you to sin, cut it off and cast it from you. It is better for you to enter into life lame or maimed rather than having 2 hands or 2 feet to be cast into the everlasting fire. And I was laughing at that because that made me think of just like the times like at youth group we've heard kids say, I don't want to be lame, like when they're talking about like the interactions, like sharing the gospel, like I don't want to be that lame. They're like, oh, like that's the Jesus freak. But it's not the same like meaning here, but like in nowadays. Like,
So it's a joke.
No, but I was thinking like nowadays people, like most Christians, we're afraid to be like, oh, don't be the lame guy that just like brings up God all the time.
Mhm.
Like, oh, this guy's so lame, bro. He's kills the vibe. But like, Jesus is like, it's better for you to be lame than to go to hell.
Kill the vibe, bro.
Yeah, kill the vibe, bro. It doesn't matter. It's better for you to be like, this is how much it means for Jesus to be with us. It's like, you can lose your eye, like deny yourself just not to end up in this place, because there's gonna be weeping and gnashing of teeth, which is horrible. Sounds horrible. I don't know if I want to be whipping and gnashing my teeth. It sounds horrible. It's like a place.
What was that verse you just mentioned about being maimed?
Matthew 18 verse 8 and 9.
I'm gonna go pee really quick.
Well, it's better for you to pee yourself than go to.
You said Matthew 18?
Yeah, Matthew 18, 8, verse 8. I mean, you can take it from verse 6 to 9. Basically, just Jesus saying, "But whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to sin, it would be better for him if a millstone were hung around his neck and he were drowned in the depth of the sea. Woe to the world because of offenses, for offenses must come, but woe is
Wait.
to the man." What?
He's singing very loudly in there.
Of course it is. And it says, "Woe to the world because of offenses. For offenses must come, but woe to that man by whom the offenses comes. If your hand or foot causes you to sin, cut it off." So it's just basically just saying, you want to miss out on this place. I'm here so you can miss out on this place. So and you want to miss out on this place. You don't want to end up in this place. And like there's a video trending right now of Wes Huff. He was on the Diary of the CEO podcast.
That was a good one.
And he asked like 5 times like if he was going to hell, and like Wes did a good job of answering his question. But I was watching this video today, and the guy was explaining like the guy wasn't asking like if he was going to hell to be like to have like a gotcha moment, or like it was more personal for him, because like he was giving an example of like the guy, like his whole story is like he never feels like he's enough. So by asking Wes Huff like, "Hey, am I gonna go to hell?" It's like he's still asking the same questions. Am I not good enough to go to hell? Like it's the same question. Like, I've done all these things. I'm helping people. So am I still going to hell? And I think that's a bigger question when we talk about things like this. Is like we just read from Luke, right? It's not about how good you are, or how much money you have, or whatever. It's who is vouching for you, who is on your side. Is Jesus on your side, or is nobody on your side? It doesn't matter if you have great hair, or you eat 16-ounce steak, or you're driving a new Mazda.
Have a wife.
Yeah, it doesn't matter all those things. It doesn't matter if you're driving a new Mazda. It doesn't really matter. It's just
Mazda.
you have Jesus in your heart. And I think that's the bigger question from all this is, like, we talk about these things for us because they're interesting, but at the end of the day is, what do we learn from this? Is, first of all, I don't want to end up in a place where I'm gnashing my teeth and weeping all the time. I want to be on the other side where I'm eating steak, I'm drinking wine with Jesus Christ. It's like, hey, man. Like,
Drinking wine with Jesus Christ.
Hey, I want to be
You're spitting bars, man.
I want to be on that. I want to be on that in that big feast. I want to be in that big feast. Like, I don't drink wine now because I know I'm gonna get plenty in heaven. So it's like, hey, right? So that's that. That's my biggest takeaway. Is like you look at these things and you're like, okay, these things are like it's fun for us to talk about. Like I was thinking, like these are conversations you have around a campfire. Like, hey, so what do you think about hell? But at the end of the day, is who's on your side? And I think that's a bigger question. And nowadays, I think people, like, another big question is, why are people afraid to talk about hell when they're talking about all these other things?
Well, I think a lot of people nowadays just think like, oh, if I'm just a good person, like I feel like that's a very new agey kind of thing. Is if you're just a good person, then everyone just goes to heaven. Doesn't matter what you believe, but if you're just, help the old lady cross the road, you go to heaven.
That's it? Dude, I live with a bunch of old ladies.
Did you just call Quincy and Kelly old ladies?
My mama, my grandma.
That's 2. That's not a bunch.
I'm just gonna stay out of this one.
Can I spam this chat with Bible verses, fam?
Okay, stop doing that.
But go ahead.
You're too old for this.
You know you're 22, right?
You're an uncle.
Did you have something? Did you have something to say, Feston?
No.
Hopefully, I'm gonna be your baby's uncle soon.
Okay, I didn't have anything to say. Go ahead.
Okay, I wanted to read Psalm 16, 9 through 11. Therefore, my heart is glad, and my glory rejoices, My flesh also will rest in hope. For you will not leave my soul in Sheol, nor will you allow your Holy One to see corruption. You will show me the path of life. In your presence is fullness of joy. At your right hand are pleasures forevermore. The next one is Acts 2:31. Okay, I'm here.
Oh, we know. We're gonna hear you.
Yeah. Okay, it says, therefore, being a prophet and knowing that God had sworn an oath to him that of the fruit of his body, according to the flesh, he would raise up the Christ to sit on his throne. Oh, he's talking about David. He promised to David that he would raise up someone to sit on his throne. He, foreseeing this, spoke concerning the resurrection of Christ, that his soul was not left in Hades, nor did his flesh see corruption. This Jesus God has raised up, of which we are all witnesses. Therefore, being exalted to the right hand of God, and having received from the Father the promise of the Holy Spirit, he poured out this which you now see and hear. So those two verses tie into each other in the fact that it's talking about how Jesus he wasn't left in Hades, like he wasn't left in a place of the afterlife. His flesh didn't see corruption, but that by the power of God, that God raised him up, he defeated death. And in like that last verse in Psalms is really cool. It's talking about how he shows him the way of life, and like God's way is of love and joy and pleasures forevermore. Like God's way is so much better than the way that we go ourselves, and the way that we go on our own, living in sin, that's going to lead towards hell. Like another thing I was listening to is
Was this podcast?
yeah, it was a podcast. It was talking about how heaven and hell are not just things that will happen in the future or places that people go in the future, but they're also present realities in the way that people choose to live their life. Like when Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is here, like Jesus was bringing the kingdom of heaven to the people that he came to. And not like we're going to be experiencing God's full glory here on earth, but we experience the full glory of Jesus living inside of our hearts by the power of the Holy Spirit, and that God raised him from the dead and gave us this opportunity to have a relationship with him. And the inverse is also true, I would believe, for the unbelievers. Like what they're experiencing now in their life, you can say, like, it sounds weird to say because we always hear like the kingdom of heaven is here, but you could also say like, oh, the kingdom of hell is also here.
I never thought about that before. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
like
Wow,
if
that
I'm
was
living,
so
if
deep.
I'm if I taught Isaiah a new thing, that's a win for today. Or helped him think about something in a new way, because usually he's always saying crazy stuff, and I'm like, I never thought about it that way. But it's interesting, like I never really thought about it in the opposite way. Like obviously I'm a Christian. I believe that I am a part of God's kingdom. I am a part of his family. I will be in his kingdom, but I also am living in his kingdom now. And then there's also another kingdom that is a present reality, that is the kingdom of the enemy. And it said that Satan, he has power in this world. And he's like a lion, and he wants to devour people. He wants to make people his soldiers for this spiritual war that we fight. He wants to get people on his side. So as we're soldiers for Christ, for God's army, there's also people living as soldiers for Satan, for the enemy of God. But what the cool thing is that, like you were saying, the big picture, the big thing to hold on to is Jesus. He is with us, and he has defeated all these things that can make people afraid. and he wants to bring you to a place of just relationship and fellowship and spending time and eating and drinking and talking and being with him
You can say that again: eating and drinking, and
and
being
being
with
with,
Jesus.
yeah.
Yes. Uh, I think, like, what the other question from this was, what did Jesus teach about hell and the afterlife? But I think, like, the biggest definition that I got for hell from this whole discussion, like when I was looking at things up, was that hell is like the opposite of perfect fellowship with God forever. Right? So the righteous will have perfect, like, fellowship with God forever, and then righteous will have hell, eternal fire, and the great national teeth forever too. Um, and I think, like, Jesus, when he was talking about the afterlife, and like I think Jesus talked more about like what he had for us in store than hell. Right? He was like, I'm going to prepare this place for you guys. It's a wonderful place that I want you to come spend. So it's like he's giving us like, this is a place we want to go be at, rather than talking about the other place we don't want to be at. But it's like, I want you to be here with me rather than being there. And like he taught about resurrection. He was talking about us as we're gonna die eventually, and we're gonna rise up with him again, and we're gonna enjoy that time with them. Uh, and talked about coming kingdom, which Ryan just touched on. It's like, it's coming. It's not here yet, but it's coming, right? The dead will be raised, the nations will be judged, and the righteous, like it says in Matthew 13:43. Zechariah. No, I don't want Zechariah right now. I want Matthew right now. Matthew 13:43 says, "Then the righteous will shine forth at the sun in the kingdom of their Father. He who has ears to hear, let him hear." I think that last part should be like Riley's thing. Let him who has ears hear what it is there to be. But I think
Yeah.
like that's what Jesus was telling us about. It's like he's saying, if you have ears, listen to this. The righteous will shine with their Father. What the other people that are not righteous are gonna do? Nobody cares, like Mika would say. But what do we care about? It's this part right here where it says we, as Christians who've been saved by Christ, will shine with our Father. And and they promised that though it's gonna be condemnation. It's not like it was like, oh, there might be condemnation. It's like, no, just take this as a promise. There's gonna be condemnation for those that are not with him. And I think for like we talked about the big pictures, just getting right with God, right? We want to strive to follow God. We want to strive to deny ourselves. We want to strive to hear those words that you'll be in paradise with me, rather than, hey, man. Like, and I think the other thing too I was thinking was, when you hear stories, I mean, there's stories of people like, oh, I went to hell, I went to heaven, and I came back, I died, right? Like those stories.
Those are crazy.
I know you guys would be more into those, but when you hear those, like the biggest thing, like for people that went to heaven and they said I died and I went to heaven and I was sent back, or like I went to hell and like now I'm here again. I have a second chances. Regret, and like I don't want my family to be on the other side. I want to come back so I can warn my family. It's the same story we just read. Is the guy was like, go warn my family. I don't want them to be here. I want them to be on that side, and and I think that's a calling for us too. Is that we, as much as it's uncomfortable to talk about, it's something we need to discuss. Right, at the end of the day, there's two places that people are going to end up with, and we want more people. We want heaven crowded, right? As people to want heaven crowded, and the other place to be like less crowded. And part of this podcast too is we want to talk about these things so we can encourage other people that can encourage other people. If people don't know Christ, they listen to our show. Hopefully they come to Christ, and hey, they see us in heaven, like, hey, bro, hey, I listened to the Campfire Podcast. Hey, cheers, bro. You said something, and I think that's the impact we can have on as Christians is being able to confront these topics that are very uncomfortable to talk about right now. Because you don't just walk up to someone and be like people are always like, why would a loving God send people to hell? Or why would it's like it's just like they're always like, well, if he was loving, he wouldn't send people to torment. So they know that, and this place is not nice. You don't want to be there, right? So
Well, kind of like what Riley was saying a little, like earlier. I don't know if we started recording that or not, but about how he is loving. That's why he sends us to hell, because it's giving us the option, right? If he just like made us all believe in him and follow him, and we're all going to heaven, and there's no choice on our part, how is that loving? If we don't have the option.
Yeah, there's
So-
a quote. Oh, go ahead, Feston.
yeah, I was gonna ask you a question. But
Okay.
go ahead.
Ask me after this then. There's a quote by C.S. Lewis where he says, there are only two kinds of people in the end. Those who say to God, thy will be done, and those to whom God says, in the end, thy will be done. All that are in hell choose it. Without that self-choice, there could be no hell. No soul that seriously and consistently desires joy will ever miss it. Those who seek find, to those who knock it is opened. So really, like you were talking about Wes Huff when I listened to that podcast, that guy was like, am I going to hell? And Wes Huff is like, well, yes, you are if. And that, like that if, that gave him an opportunity to present the gospel, the message of the gospel, and also to share the truth of what happens to those who reject the gospel. And Wes was pretty much saying that too. Like, why would God force you to go to a place that, like, if heaven is being with God and you don't even want to choose God, then why would God force you to go there? He's going to give you, he's going to allow you to choose what you want because that is loving. He's not going to force you to be with him if you don't want to be with him.
Yeah.
What was your question?
I forgot. Oh no, I think it was what from from both of you is like I'm sure you guys were looking things up and listening to stuff, and maybe some of you were reading. I mean, I say some of you. There's two of you, but I think maybe one of you read more. But I think it's, at the end of the day is what did you learn then from like this topic, Riley? Like you're the one that brought it up. So at the end of the day, what did you come out knowing that you didn't know before?
I think it gave me clarity of the words in the Bible and what they mean, and also seeing like there's going to be words in the Bible like Sheol and Hades, and it's you can't just think about that as, oh, those are people who go to hell. If you go in thinking you know what it means, you're probably going to end up with the wrong interpretation and miss the point of what the writer is actually trying to say. So it showed me to be careful in that when I read, and to not just read, but also to like dig in and want to learn and understand what it is. Yeah, it reminded me of God's love too, and also seeing his love in a different way, that he will give people what they want. Because a lot of times my thought and my concept of God's love is like, oh God, you've given me so many things that I receive. Like I want God's forgiveness. I want to be with him. I want to be with him on earth, and I want to be with him in eternity. But then also it's also God's love that allows people to reject those things from him. And because I haven't said like, oh, I reject you, God, I don't want to be with you, I don't want to spend eternity with you, I haven't thought about that aspect of his love in that way, that he allows people to reject him. And the Bible also says God desires that everyone should be saved. It breaks his heart that the people he has created reject him. And why did he create them? Because he wants relationship with them. So God isn't like a vengeful, sick-minded God who is like, oh yes, these people who didn't choose me, they get to go to this place that's awful where I'm not there. They got what they deserved. God does give them what they deserve. God does give them what they choose, but it also breaks his heart. And it's kind of hard to wrap your mind around that too. Like God is creating people who he knows their end, but he still wants to create them to give them a chance to know him.
Yeah.
And I can't fully comprehend that, and I don't think I'm really meant to. So I did walk away with some clarity, but there were also some other things where when you really start thinking about what the Bible is talking about and what it means, it's also going to lead you into more questions that maybe you can answer with keep studying, keep praying, keep reading, keep talking, or maybe it's just going to lead you to a place where you kind of struggle with it and you think like, how could God do that? Why would God do that? Like, can I still trust God? Like, in my life, I know that God is real. I know that I can trust him. So when I have these things that come up in my mind, it doesn't really like shake my faith into doubting God because I know who he is. I've seen him and I've seen him work. I've seen his love and his forgiveness. I've experienced those things, but just because you have that relationship with him, it doesn't mean you're fully going to comprehend his ways and who he is and why he does things.
Yeah, that just brings me back to what like people that have been following Christ for a long time always says that the more you think you know God, the less you know him. Like
Yeah.
the more you're getting confident, wow, I know what this is saying, the more you're like you read it again, you're like, oh, I thought it meant this, and then the next time you're just like, what? Like what? And then it's just like I think it's that the beautiful thing that God gives us is that he gives us the mind to like think what like he gives us that beautiful mind to like, oh, this is what God wants, and then we pray to God and it's like, this is what I want, and then we're like, this is like we're always exploring and like discovering things, more beautiful things about God. And I think that's a good place to be. Then I know everything, like I'm a genius, look at me, I have a hat on, you know,
His thinking cap.
yeah. But I think like you're right, like the more we like reading the Bible is more of like exploring and finding out who God is, and still being able to be like, wow, I thought I knew God last year. This year I know him more. And then next year, like I thought I knew him last year, but this year I know him more. It's just like that relationship, just like discovering him and getting to know him more. And I think from my takeaway from this is that story from Luke is it doesn't matter your status on earth, is who are you standing with, who is on your side, who is vouching for you, right? It's like you get invited to, you don't like you go to try to get into a party and you're like, well, I can either go in with Riley, who is invited, or I can go in with Isaiah, who wasn't invited. So who is vouching for me, right? I mean, I know those roles are reversed because Isaiah gets invited to more parties than Riley, but that was just to make Riley feel good. But it's who is at the door and who is like, who do you have to go through to get to the place? And I think having Jesus on our side is the biggest thing that we can ever have in this life. Is these are good topics to discuss and these are good topics to have, like to think about, but at the end of the day, do you got Jesus Christ? Is that like that's one of those stickers on cars, like, are you following Jesus Christ this close, right? Like, are you following close enough to hit him? We'll be like bumping into him, like, you know. Yeah, that's my takeaway, is just have Jesus on your side and things will be great. Not in the way you think, but in the way Jesus intends them to be.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Isaiah? What you got for
Yeah,
us?
I'd love to hear from our Greek mythology
I want to
expert
hear
on
more
the
from
Campfire Podcast.
I don't know if I'm an expert.
What he really took away from
I
this
just
episode.
I think it's interesting to just talk about these things. I don't feel like it's ever really talked about. Like
When was the last time we as a friend group talked about hell?
I don't think it's ever happened.
Let me see. 51 minutes ago.
54.
When we
but,
started.
I do think it's interesting. It just kind of gets your gears turning, right? Like just having it within like discussion, like, oh yeah, like what you had mentioned, like if heaven's on earth, why can't hell be as well? Like, I mean, I've kind of butchered what you said, but you get the idea. Like, I don't know. It's interesting to hear everyone because everyone views it slightly different, and I know I view it a certain way. Riley views it like slightly different, and then Fesson as well, and just hearing what everyone's. Right? That mean something?
The three of us, yeah, we're gonna have different views.
Of course, we're gonna have some different opinions.
No, just different, like way different. Like there's that gulf that the Bible's talked about between that space, like a big space of thoughts.
It's a chasm.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, that's really all I got. I don't know. Have I told you right? Like it's just kind of a random like thought I had one day. It's not like backed up biblically, but we can agree that God's outside of time, right? Like he operates.
Okay, I think I know where you're going.
Have I told you this before?
No, go ahead.
So
You might have, but go ahead.
if we let's say Riley dies right now. Riley's dead. And I die in 20 and then I die in 20 years. But we got to heaven at the same time. If heaven operates outside of that, like it's not bound by the same time that Earth is. Am I making sense, Feston?
So this reminds me of yesterday talking to my family. I'm like, there's Hades, there's Sheol, there's Abraham's bosom, there's a chasm, there's communication, but they can't cross. What happens when Jesus came? Jesus ascended into the lower parts of the earth. He taught, he preached, he brought out the captives. Did he take them to heaven? Where is hell now? Do the people go to hell? If I died right now, where would I go? Would I go to heaven? Would I go to the Hades, the waiting place? Would I be on the new earth in the new Jerusalem? And my dad just goes, well, what if it's all outside of time and everyone just goes at the same time because heaven's outside of time? And I'm like, okay, that could be it.
I don't know. That's kind of interesting because
I just rambled for like 15 minutes, and that's the one sentence you have to say, Dad.
I feel like we always kind of assume that it like obeys the same like laws.
Right, but what if it doesn't?
What if it's like completely outside of time? Like, if you died right now, you would see me in
Let's
heaven.
test
but I'm
it.
not in heaven.
If I die right now and you die in 20 years.
Yeah, but I won't know because you'll be dead.
But
We'll figure it out when we get there.
You know the beautiful thing about this is that we as human beings like talk about it in that sense because that's all we understand. We can't understand things that are outside of time. So it's just we can have like this conversation for like 20 hours more to think. Like, so if it's
Gotta get those watch hours in.
It's like if it's outside of the time, is it happening right now? Is it happening tomorrow? When is it happening? We can go in circles because it's just a loop.
Well, if it's not in time, it won't be tomorrow.
Exactly.
There's no time.
Wow, Isaiah, that was so good. Anyways, hey, if you listen to this to the end, please let us know what your thoughts are in the comment section. Riley's
Thank you for
curious.
listening to our crazy rambles about hell and heaven and death and
Hades and Sheol and Gehenna. We didn't even talk about Gehenna.
we didn't even talk about that.
That is a valley.
Yeah, but it's a real place, but they also use it as like a
Genius answered my question real quick. Anyways, leave us a comment, like this, subscribe to the show if you listen to it on Spotify. Someone said on Apple the best way to support this show is just give us reviews. Give us a 4-star. So do that. Give us a 4.9 or 5-star, please.
Give Riley compliments in the comments. He needs them.
Yeah, on
Boosts his
YouTube,
morale.
if you see this, just hit the like button, subscribe, hit that notification, and just give us a comment. Let us know what you think. We might be wrong. We're not like closed-minded to just think
maybe we're
our
crazy.
way is the right way. maybe not all of us. Just say maybe you and Riley, because you do to have
Seems
your
very
own
biased of
theories.
you. It seems very biased of you that we would
Hey,
be the two crazy ones and you
the
wouldn't.
two of you have your own theories that might be suitable for the
You're just
under
very
the
close-minded.
praise talks. No, well, I don't know. Anyways, see you guys next time. It's 11:33, so I'm gonna go to bed. But thank you for listening. Thanks to these two white men that we have a podcast. Amen.
Amen.